Hello everybody, Chad Eves here, and today we're going to talk about a trend in communication related to the recent wave of layoffs, specifically in the tech sector. Lately there's been a lot of postings online and TikTok and YouTube of people complaining about them losing their job. Now, the intent here is not to minimize the trauma that a person goes through when they lose their job. It's an awful event. I can relate to that, been there. But what's more important is what you do after the event. And this is where a lot of people are making a very serious mistake, where they're posting videos complaining about how they feel like they've been betrayed, saying derogatory things about their former employer, feeling like they were mistreated, that they thought they were family, that their life's been turned upside down because they're used to having all those other benefits, especially at some of these tech companies out in California. So the thing to think about here is, first, get the frustration off your chest. Talk to your friends, talk to your family. That needs to be done. Talk to a therapist if you need to. Don't post it online, because once you go looking for a new job, the chances are people are going to check you out online and they're going to see these videos, and it is not going to be flattering or helping you to get another job, because they don't want to be talked about like that if you get let go from those companies to begin with. Also, it shows a modicum of unprofessionalism that you cannot separate your work from your personal feelings and how you respond to that. It is important. Remember that you're going to work to provide a service and a skill. The days of bringing your whole self to work again, those were never a good idea. Bring your work self, project your work brand, and protect your reputation. Don't post these videos. If you've done it, take them down. Do not leave them up there. Sometimes you can, or they're archived somewhere, but don't do it. If you have done it, try to take them down. It's not going to help your reputation. Like I said, it can stop you from getting hired, but also everybody's good at something. And whatever that is for you, you're also shortchanging the world from experiencing and benefiting from what you can do for people. So, something to consider. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. Another factor to consider, once you've vented and you've gotten through those first 1 or 2 days, which you need to get past fairly quickly, don't spend a week wallowing in misery or something, is what was your vulnerability? What was the risk for you to getting laid off? Because that was a factor in what happened. Now, sometimes you can't help it. A company decides they're no longer going to be engaged in a certain business, they sell it off, they close it, whatever else it is. But then a lot of times they decide to just get rid of people and keep elements of those businesses, divisions, or teams operating. And that's what requires some real introspection and assessment on your own behalf. For some reason, you were not competitive enough to be retained. It sucks to say it, it sucks to think it, but that is the truth. Work is not a family. You can't buy into that. That was one of the things that people were saying in some of these videos, like, oh, I felt like I was betrayed by my family. No, you're not family at work. Even in a family-run business, it's about business. And a lot of times that blurring of the lines is what gets family-run businesses into trouble. So the first thing is, if you thought you were part of a family, get rid of that and never buy into that again. It's not about family, it's about work, it's about business. And when it comes down to employee types, there are two general types of employees. Family is not one of them, because they're not contributing, they're not doing the job, they're just related. So the two types of employees are, well, let's go through the first one. The first one is, if you're an employee that likes to go in there, do their job, punch the clock, check the list, you're a commodity worker, which means you are more easily replaceable. You are just doing what's required, maybe the bare minimum, going through the motions, ending the day, going away. If you're following a repetitive process, you can be replaced with another person, probably less expensive, offshored, outsourced, maybe even replaced by robotics or some other form of automation or AI. That can sting. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a commodity worker as long as you're aware of what those risks are. If you are, and that's the type of work you want to do and you're happy with it, so be it. But understand that you are at a higher risk of being replaced in one form or the other. The other type is a contributor. A contributor brings value, innovation, creativity to the organization. In almost every instance, that means helping profitability, contributing to revenue and profitability in some way, getting stuff done faster, saving expenses, doing it less expensively, coming up with a new product or service, and helping that company increase its profitability for shareholders and other people. That is a much stronger position to be in. These are typically the above and beyond type employees that are working extra. They're grinding, they're doing extra stuff. If that's not for you, be a commodity worker. But if that is for you, you're in a much stronger position. If you got laid off, sit back and reflect. What kind of worker were you? What was your position? What was your risk? Because that is what's going to be communicating out your value to your boss and the people that make the decisions on retention or separation. If you're not contributing, if you're not adding value and helping with that profitability, the messaging that you're sending is you're not as valuable, and that you are more risk, at more risk to be let go. If you're a contributor, it's also important to remember that there are different scales. There is, the bottom layer of the contributors and the top layer of the contributors, and then everyone else in between. And even though you may be a contributor, you might not be at that level that, decides retention. That can still happen. And these types of employees, run the entire, level of employee, of person, whether you're an intern, mid-career professional, a leader, an executive. Any of those people can be a commodity worker or a contributor, and they can create different types of issues at different levels. But consider this. If you've been let go, or someone that's been let go, and they're posting these videos for their good, for their future, talk to them about not doing it. If you're doing it, think about, do you really want to handicap your job search? Do you have a right to do it? Yes. Do people care? Not in the way that you think they might. They don't want to be talked about the way you're talking about current people. And you need to think more in the terms of a professional that gets a job that you want to get, and whether or not you want to be a commodity worker or a contributor, and what all the pros and cons are associated with those different types of employee types. But you need to communicate your brand. You need to be smart about how you communicate and not handicap yourself before you get to that next opportunity.